What's up, everybody? Hello, everyone. It's been a while. We're happy to be back on Twitch. I'm here today with Alexandre Chaudret, who's a concept designer based in France. Specifically, I think Alex, you focus more on character design. You've done your portfolio is pretty insane. You have so much work in there. So
Work alcoholic.
that's awesome. So I'm excited to have you on because we don't often have character designers on the stream. So this is a great opportunity for you guys who've been asking for, Learn Square to tackle more character design topics and things like that. So I am working on developing a couple courses that are more focused on character and creature design. The next course coming out is going to be about creature design, and we're really excited about that. But today we have Alexandre, who is kind enough to take some time off of his weekend to get on the stream and show us some really cool stuff. So hey, Alex, welcome.
Hi everybody.
Do you want to introduce yourself just to the crew so they know sort of who you are and what's your background?
Well, the first thing is, Mohamed, your English is absolutely incredible. So I think my English is going to be very Frenchy instead of
okay.
in comparison with yours.
We're good.
So yeah, I'm really happy to be with all of you guys. I followed one of the Learn Squared course a few months ago, and so I think it's like this. You saw my work. And so I'm a French illustrator and concept artist. Recently, I've been changing my job, and I'm an art director now for almost 6 months in a video game company.
Okay.
And so, yeah, as you can see on my folio, I'm pretty based on characters. Character design has been my thing for a long, long time, and it still is. Even now, I'm art director, so I have to tackle with a lot of different things. But yeah, especially character design.
So do you have a team? Like, now that you're moving to an AD role, do you have a team of artists that you sort of supervise, or how much work do you still do in terms of designing stuff and supervising other artists?
So yeah, it's a very different job, actually. I knew it would be a different job, so I just put myself in this new state of mind, knowing that I would have much less to draw and much less to paint, but much more to supervise and really giving the direction, actually, for the whole game and the art style of the game and stuff. The company is Lightbulb Crew. It's a French small independent company. We are something like 15 to 20, I think. And my art team is counting, I think, 8 people in the company. Okay. From the concept artist to 3D character modeler, 3D environment, animators and stuff.
Okay. Can you just take us through your portfolio a little bit?
Yeah.
And is there a big difference for doing character design for a video game as opposed to film?
I suppose so. I really didn't work a lot with movies, actually, in the cinema. Okay. I did a bit of them, but more on the real concept part, where it was more like costume designs and stuff like this, where you have very strong guidelines. In video game, it's a different way to approach it, because there are so many different jobs that are linked to your concepts that you have to think about a lot of things. When you're just adding a scarf or a cape, it's like adding 200 hours to somebody else behind you. Okay. So you have to think about it. And there are a lot of different mechanisms that are very important in video games. Like, you have to be careful to the game design. You have to be serving the fun of the game and not only the beauty about it. where in the movie you're like serving the purpose or the only the visual.
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like the technical aspect isn't um, as strong, like in the sense that you don't need to rig or animate and make sure that your mesh, your polys, and all of that.
Turns in an engine or something like
Exactly
that.
when you're working in film. Um, so when it comes to like developing, when you get a new gig, or the studio you're at gets a new gig, um, like what does the brief look like? Like when you get a character design brief, what does that sort of look like? And in terms of the creation part of the thing, like can you sort of give us an idea of what the pipeline looks like from the moment you get a brief to the first concept until you sort of have a final validation of the character?
Okay, so the easiest way to explain this would be more my freelance activity where there are people just giving me a pure brief.
Okay.
Actually, it's often like a few lines or a whole discussion with the guy asking the client.
Mm-hmm.
It really depends on who is a client. If it's a major company, they are very like they know how to do the brief, and they do briefs that are very templated and scheduled and etc. And when you are more with some guys, independent guys or tabletop guy, table board games, etc., it's more going into a discussion with them and like sorting out what they want.
Mm-hmm.
After, usually, if you are in freelance, there is quite quickly the big questions about the deadlines and the money.
Okay.
But let's say this is more the professional administrative part, so it's less the creative fun part.
Mm-hmm.
In the brief itself, well, you have sometimes briefs are very precise, and because the client really knows what he wants. For example, one of my last freelance work, I was working with Blur Studio, and they have a full ton of description of what they need, and they have documents, and you have to follow exactly what they want. Same if you're working for Games Workshop, Warhammer, or something like this.
Okay.
And when you're working on some book covers or something, sometimes you just have one single line. You have the whole explanation of the book, and then you have one line, do a beautiful redhead girl. And that's it.
Okay.
So it's sometimes really, really short. And after my own creative way to work is really depending on the client and the time I have.
Mm-hmm.
With independence, because I like to work with independence, they give a lot of freedom, so we can like work really freely, artistically, and don't think about anything and just do your own stuff. And usually those people are coming because they saw your folio and they love your art style, and so you can be really like free and 100% free. So with independence, usually I just go for a bunch of rough sketch. Then they choose one of those sketches. I do an advanced sketch about it, maybe sorting out a few colors and everything in it.
Gotcha.
And yeah, and when we're all settled and we know, okay, this won't change, don't want to add a third arm or transform this girl into a man or change his haircut and stuff, well, I go to final, and this is like the easiest part where you're just doing details until it's finished.
Okay.
And then delivery, invoice, hopefully get your money, stuff like this.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being freelance.
Yep.
You sometimes have to wait 6 months. I once did a freelance gig and had to do some overtime, and the client wouldn't pay me. And I think I contacted him and tried to get the money for about 6 months, and then summer came. I was walking down the street and I bumped into him while he was skateboarding.
Oh,
He was
God.
like, "Hey, Mo." I was like, "Hey, I'm coming to
That's
your
destiny.
office on Monday to get my check." He looked at me. He was like, "Okay, I'll be ready." I was like, "Thank you," and I just walked by. Sometimes it's a bit rough, but luckily, that was probably the worst experience. This character you showed, Moon Knight, Blue Moon Knight is part of a
Yep.
series, and that's the one I used on the banner. Can you talk a bit about sort of the backstory of these four characters, like the knight
Yeah.
characters?
Yeah. So actually, this project is really a personal project. I invented those four knights for
Okay.
my baby daughter. So
Oh
it's
wow.
really like you can't be more personal than
Just one second.
prepare.
Okay.
You like, yeah, want to try to prepare, some uh, tales and stuff like this for her
Mm-hmm.
when she will be in an age where she can understand and say something else than papa. That would
Yeah.
be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah, the four nights were actually just came out like this, where I was trying to do something concerning the colors and the seasons. So each of those nights have like the blue winter night, the red autumn night, the yellow summer night, and green spring night. So it's actually it was driven really for kids. And what I like in creating universes, and I always be just doing creating universe. I'm not like keen on getting to the most technical things and etc. I'm really more creating stories and trying to bring characters to life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took especially just the one I loved the most, so the Blue Knight, and I gave her more of a backstory, where in the actual setting she is like um, a knight that had for kind of destiny. She has to fight the monster that's behind the moon.
Okay.
And the thing is, she's been trained for this, and that's her entire life was made for this. But she is absolutely not ready for this kind of fight because she doesn't like to fight at all. So it's the story of a girl who actually had more of different dreams, and she was like she loved art and stuff like this, and she's forced to go into a battle that she didn't want to have.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, what she will discover is that the monster itself is also in this kind of mindset where he's forced to attack the city she is protecting. And if there were any just someone who was ready to listen, well, they would have been friends.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like good thinking with some kind of small morality stuff for kids.
That's
And so
awesome.
yeah, that's how I brought this concept to the course from Learn Squared.
Yeah.
I took the Alex Figini's course, Concept Art and ZBrush.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So actually, the thing was, I saw this course. It was here for almost a couple of years, I think, or a year and a half out.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw one or two of my friends using the course and doing really tremendous work, especially where they were not at all 3D guys. And yeah, that's really cool. I've done some 3D myself in my studies, and even my first internship was CG modeler. So I knew a bit, but it was like ZBrush and 2009, where you couldn't click everywhere. Everything was broken and everything was so difficult. And so I had one of my friends who told me, yeah, I'm going to take this course. It really looks cool and stuff. And I said, yeah, well, it's the good occasion for me to do it also. So if we have some questions, we could work it together and like have some self-motivation by just talking each time we would be down, or, oh, I don't know how ZBrush works anymore, or what the fuck is this with marvelous design and stuff.
Yeah.
So we helped each other, and that's how I got to the Blue Knight in 3D.
But it's pretty impressive. Like your 3D character is pretty much the exact same as your 2D illustration. Did you use ZBrush before?
Yeah, I had just, like, as I said, I had an internship in 2009 where I did some ZBrush for something like 1 month and a half.
Yeah, but that was a while ago.
It was a while ago. Yeah, thank you to remind me how old I am. That's perfect. Thank you. Because I'm 67.
Well, hey, for like the character looks awesome. Like it's like I just love. I'm really into like sci-fi, fantasy, anything that basically sort of makes me dream and takes my mind away. And even though I don't know the backstory of this character, like I could easily, just looking at her, I can think of a million worlds I could create, and all the I can looking at sort of the her legs, looking at the tech that used to create her, I can easily sort of go into the entire world she lives in and all that stuff. So that's what I love about this character, and I think that's what makes it a successful one, when you can, just looking at it can sort of let you really go into your deep into your imagination and see all these different possibilities, like derivative characters and all that stuff. Can you show some of the other knights that are part of
Yeah,
the series,
go back.
just so
And
people
thanks,
can
man.
see them?
You
No,
made
it's
my day.
awesome. It's really awesome. It looks pretty awesome. And are the three other knights sort of part of the same crew, or are they rivals, or how?
It's more like, sister rivals or something like this, where they are part of the same crew, but they're not friends. Especially because the Blue Knight is like this kind, very naive, shy girl, and the others are like the most powerful knights you can have in this entire universe. And so they are all looking above her and saying, "Yeah, you're actually the worst of us, and you're a shame for our name."
So like almost like a Naruto Sasuke sort of
Yeah, you
relationship.
could have this.
Yeah,
The only thing is, she doesn't have a giant fox in her heart or something like this.
or a giant frog.
Maybe
if-
she have a giant frog.
Yeah. If guys in the chat, feel free to post your questions, anything you'd like to ask Alex. He's also reading the chat, if I'm not mistaken. So post them, and we'll definitely go through them as the stream goes by. Awesome. Alex, is there anything else you'd like to show before we jump into the demo?
Yeah, we're going to just go 1 second on the art station, show you.
Yeah, perhaps,
some
break down
other
some of
different
your
things.
favorite projects, and it'd be interesting also to talk a little bit about your style. Like, I don't know if this is an evolution of something you had in the past. Like, did you always have like this use of shape and colors and texture, or is it something new? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's been quite an evolution, even if it's not like only progression. I'm showing this one because it's one who had the most likes I had on ArtStation, so it's maybe the most famous I've made recently. And he had a quite funny process, because I started everything in like basic triangle and circle shapes and added a few things until it gets to be characters, etc. And the other thing I like in this process is, once again, because I'm a dad now, and at first there was just the tall triangle deaf guy, and it just came to me like an idea when my girl was coming around me, that I would add him his own daughter.
Oh, wow.
And actually, it's like part of a new philosophy I have for all the recent work I'm doing these last days. Is I'm trying to use the fun fact I'm being a dad now to be like a new inspiration and stuff, because a lot of us guys, like, we're concept artists in Illustrator and stuff, we always tackle with time, because we have so much projects we want to do, and we want to rest a minimum so we can still work, etc. And actually, once you become a dad, your time like shortens by half at least.
Yeah.
And I was actually quite scared about this change, and having a new person I had really to take over with, and etc. And how I would get this with my art, and because it's like the second biggest thing in my life, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I found a way, and the best way is to take my daughter like an inspiration. So invent things for her, use what she's doing, like painting, or here I'm showing one of the latest stuff I made. That is actually some random shapes she made with some Play-Doh, and I just took a picture of it and I created a monster out of it. So that's something that's I would have probably didn't do, or I almost never do, except maybe when I was a student. And so it's getting me back to very inspiration stuff and trying different things. And how now it's like coming at the same time I'm becoming an art director, so I don't have that much of I need to show things in my portfolios that will sell me as a freelancer and outside, etc. I'm more like I have to work out my creativity so I can always answer to the guys in my team, etc. Because that's the biggest part of the art director creative
you need to
job.
stay sharp.
Yeah, exactly. You have to always think the game in a whole, think about the whole harmonization of it, etc. But you have also to be able, at the most of the time, to answer the questions your guys have. And sometimes it's not easy to always have the good idea at the good moment. And sometimes you have to search, or you have to admit that you don't know and push your guys to search for you.
Okay, gotcha. But do you feel like you're in terms of time management and all that, like my experience I have a 14-month-old, I feel like because I have a little boy now, I need to, like, I use my time so much more efficiently, and I find myself doing more now than I used to before he was born, because for some reason I am very aware of what my time is and how much free time I have. So that free time now yields more results than when I wasn't a dad. So that for me was is that, like, how do you go about that? How do you go about your time? Do you have a specific routine? Do you try to keep practice consistent, or?
Well, the thing is, I completely agree with what you said. We have, I think, close to the same experience then, if you have a small boy, because it started for me this taking time in consideration the once I get married, because when you're living with somebody, well, you have to like work out your couple and your art at the same time. And I was thinking, well, I don't know how I'm making this, but it works. I'm more efficient, etc. And when the baby came, I was like, I just don't know where I will find time anymore. It's just not possible. And then you get even sharper and you find even more time and you know how to use it even better and stuff. My art routine, well, now I have my full job as art director, so this is like blocking my day time. And after I have my sweet evening with my family when I'm coming back. And if I have some freelance work, I work from something like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. until when I'm falling down asleep. And sometimes in the weekend, but I'm more and more I still have to short down my freelance work because I'm just too tired to do everything at the same time. And for everything that's practicing, etc., I very little do some like studies and stuff like this, where you are taking some bunch of photos or references and trying to work out. I always try to study or learn new things by integrating it in one of my own projects, because otherwise I'm really too much working creating stories and stuff to just do, okay, now I have to learn how to do a mech warrior or car, or have to see back how we work anatomy on specific things like the hands, etc. So if I had to work out studies and I wanted to work on getting better to draw hands, for example, I would probably create a monster that has 1,000 hands on him, and then
Okay.
it will be, personal project but studies at the same time.
Okay, that's a smart way to go about it.
I don't know if it's a smart way. It's just I don't know how to do elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Each time I tried like doing really studies, except when I was in school, well, I just failed about it because usually I start and then I just transform it and get real monster out of it or creating something new.
Okay, gotcha. People were asking about your inspirations. Like, is there any, when you got started, because your style is, you see so much work on ArtStation, and a lot of it kind of looks the same, and you see the same trends, you see the same sort of inspirations pop up here and there. But your work is quite different, to the point where you would easily recognize it, if you saw it somewhere else. Like, did you have specific inspirations growing up, like uh, specific artists or things like that?
Yeah, well, we all have our like favorite artists and guys we like and stuff. Uh, like I love guys like Mignola that makes Hellboy, or recently departed Topi, who was Italian artist, more traditional artist. And one of my favorite is Bezinski, who is like a Polish guy. I think makes only incredible, tortured creations.
Oh, wow.
And of course, there is all the guys we see on the internet, from Feng Zhu to Anthony Jones and guys like this, or all the guys you have in Learn Squared and stuff. After, I really think it's also the guys you meet in real life,
Mm.
not especially the guys you see in conventions or in masterclass and stuff, but the guys you really see, like your teachers or your friends, etc. Me, I really rely a lot on my friends, and I had some excellent teachers when I was back in school in France. We had guys who were very old-fashioned masters, who were like working out techniques of the ancient guys. That's how we developed a lot of composition and stuff like that for the eye. I remember one of my first lessons, especially one of these guys, he was telling us, okay, so that's your first lesson. What we are going to do is simple geometric animals for kids book.
Okay.
So you're like entering a new school of art, and you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to do the new Blizzard creature, and I'll be working in 5 years from here and into From Software or something like this. And your first lesson is, yeah, you should do a chicken. So yeah, I was okay. That's gonna be a lot of fun for 5 years of work. And so I tried all the ways possible to not do this simple chicken or simple animal stuff. I was trying to do like difficult scorpions, spiders, and creatures stuff. And each time he was like throwing my drawing away and saying, no, you should do really this simple chicken stuff with only circles and triangles and stuff. And actually, I never learned as much as this with this guy, who learned me first to be resistant when you're an artist, that you have to understand that you have to get in the mindset where you're working for somebody and doing answering demand, and so answering something that's being asked to you.
Mm.
And actually, it's very good to get sometimes really to the basics of how a triangle lives with a circle, and then you get much better with all of this.
So the lesson was mainly, like, the purpose of simplifying things was mainly to sort of be able to develop that creativity to use simple shapes and be flexible, but also sort of not always being selfish with your art. Was that the
Yeah.
main? Okay.
In a lot of art schools, especially in France, I don't know if it's the same otherwhere, but in France, they are a type of art schools where we are trying to break down the students and then rebuild them with a new way of thinking.
Hmm.
And actually, that's a bit what he did. So it was not like they're breaking your mind and you're dead cell until the end of the course or anything. But it's breaking your habits. Each time you see a new student and this kind of art schools, and it was back in 2006, so there was less internet. There were no of those courses online and stuff like this, except the Gnomon DVDs and stuff like that. So it was much more about we're coming and we love to draw Naruto and Dragon Ball Z and manga stuff. And actually, you were just confronted to a teacher who was like, yeah, but all of those stuff are shit because you're just taking the art style of somebody else and not creating your own vision. So I'm going to break you. I'm going to break everything you knew from the beginning, going to the simplest thing of, yes, a circle and a triangle doesn't live the same way when they are together than when you're putting a square or a face. And so you're, from this very base, he was building up, and then my school was a 3D school. So at the end, he was helping us to model and sculpt creatures and people for our movie course. And that's exactly what happened. You start from the very base, and you learn how to develop. And I think even if now I'm old enough to choose what I want to paint, so I can go back to more manga style or illustrative stuff, and I don't feel ashamed doing a monster and doing a creature and stuff like this. I always keep in mind how this guy told me how to work and stuff, and how to learn how to work, because how shapes work together, it tells so much about a character and how it's presented and how you're showing titles who are working together and stuff. It's very important, and I try to keep this in mind, even when we're in video games where you have to create a 3D model that after will be seen from any angle, etc. What's really important is what the character is telling, what he is showing, and how he's showing it. So it's serving a bigger purpose, either a gameplay purpose or a more story-driven lore purpose, etc.
There's a book by Molly Bank called Pictured This. I don't know if you've ever seen it.
Nope.
It's a really cool book. It basically teaches composition by using the story of the Little Red Riding Hood, Le Petit Chaperon Rouge.
Yeah, exactly.
And basically the same thing that you're explaining. It teaches you how powerful shapes are in building stories. So they start by, using these cubes and triangles, and just with those shapes you start showing aggressivity. You start showing depth and this and that, just by it's a great book. And when I sort of discovered concept art and the whole like entertainment side of design, this is one book I used a lot to sort of understand how to create depth within a 2D piece. And it's like the simplest book. Great. It's like super simple and super short, but it has like all this content in it that's very, very helpful if you need sort of a one-on-one introduction on composition and storytelling.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
But yeah, that's
what I see on your videos.
Method. That's a powerful method. It's not something I've sort of encountered often. Like the fact that he really forced you to use like these super simple shapes. I feel like you often focus on the foundations and the basics, but that's almost like going into like the deep basics of the basics. Okay, you can only use a circle, a triangle, and a square. And just looking at your portfolio, it yields like these really strange like forms and characters that I don't think you could ever get if you didn't go through that process.
Yeah, well, probably. I don't know. Thank you anyway.
Because I feel
I
like
take
the
it like a compliment
process,
now.
yeah, the process is what sort of feeds um, these characters, and that's what's so powerful about processes and these strategies, because they help you answer questions without you having to sort of do the hard work for it. You just place the elements and then work within the constraints of those compositions, and you have to deal with it. So these shapes and compositions come out you wouldn't necessarily um, have found if you were just going through, like sort of going carte blanche freestyle with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see if people have questions. Aaron says, can you talk a little bit more about your choice of colors and how deliberate you are when basically coming up with a color palette for your work?
Colors. Well, colors is a difficult topic. Actually, it really depends on my mood. Sometimes I really start in black and white and I add colors afterwards, especially in concept art or when it's already like color driven. We already told me this character will be blue, etc. So it's like my mind knows that it will be working in blue. So I'm more focusing on the silhouette and forms and the design itself in black and white. When I'm doing my own personal stuff, if I already know which color I will use, I do it directly. No, I know if there is red scarf stuff or red hair stuff, I will just throw the best red I find on
Okay.
Photoshop. And afterwards, I work very often out of chaos. So like I'm just throwing a bunch of colors everywhere and then or forms or shapes, etc. And I'm just like sculpting in it until it gets out something or I see something. And that's how I usually work with those kind of pieces where I'm going to show you. There is really random shapes coming from nowhere, and I'm really like adding stuff on it. And the more I add, then I see, oh, this time I see a face or I see a creature out of my own nightmares. And then I sculpt until it gets out. And that's how I work usually. After the whole color scheme, there is no rules. They are some ideas of what's good taste, bad taste, what works together. But I think it's almost just testing and using your own eye and what you like. And once your eye is getting very sharp, you know this association works or this association doesn't work or this won't serve what I'm trying to tell, etc. And that's where you're choosing the best colors for your character or thing like this.
Gotcha. That's awesome. We can perhaps jump into the demo now if
Yeah. Okay.
so. Alexandre has started like a small piece for you guys just to sort of demonstrate some of his process. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is one character I am working on. It's just to show that I sometimes go on very different styles. Here is more stylized with plain colors, etc. So it's not this one I'm going to do. I wanted to show you this blank canvas, and I took actually a picture of the latest painting of my baby daughter. So as you can see, it's beautiful, made with her small hands, etc. And so I think I'm going to like do something out of this. I don't know what yet, but just find some shapes and stuff like this in it. And so, yeah, don't hesitate to ask questions while I'm painting, because I will be focusing on it without thinking about anything. And I won't look, yeah, kind of dark kid. Well, actually, I think it's her mother tried to give her the best paintings, but she just mixed everything, and so it gives this blackish blue stuff, or does it look very, very appealing? But actually, it kind of can do a great monster, I'm sure. Just
Yeah, I see like skeleton, like bones and
yeah, exactly. I'm seeing
ribs
like
and all that stuff.
I'm seeing like a rider on kind of a monster guy. I don't know. So like it's a chaos process. It can completely fail, but if it fails, well, it will be on Twitch forever. You will mock me for the the 1,000 years to come. But yeah, you can see like a guy on kind of weird creature with
It might be that chicken from
chicken from the past.
exactly coming
It's
back
back.
to hunt you. What's the name of the school where you
Oh,
had that?
so in France it was called Superfocom back in the days. Now I think they've been bought by a private thing that's named Rubica.
Okay.
And it was actually a school to learn how to be a 3D director, so more for movies rather than for video games.
Hmm.
But I was really so much in video games that was really the thing I wanted to do for.
Until today, like that's where your heart is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's really the thing I prefer because I like to tell stories, etc. So in movies you can tell stories and it's really great, but in video games you can make the people play your stories, and
Yeah.
so they identify themselves, and that's going to be really awesome. I really hope the project I'm working on right now is going to find at least a critique success, because I put a lot of my personal story in it, and the guys who are working are like giving their shit out to get a very nice game. Even if we're like a small company, I'm not saying we're going to be the new Assassin's Creed or a new Naughty Dog game, but at our own size, I'm really sure we can like at least touch a few people, and that would be really cool for us.
Awesome. Is there like what are some of the games that you already have out?
So I worked a lot with independent things
Okay, so
in France.
indie developers.
Yeah, indie developers. I think it won't recall to anybody that's not in France, but the major one of the company I worked most with was Spiders. That's the more recent game is the Technomancer.
Okay.
That's a kind of cyberpunk Witcher game.
Oh, nice.
So it's a small company, like 20 or 30 people and stuff, and so it's a lot of what I call the pirates of video games. Like we are taking out our shit out, we're working tremendous hours, and they are maybe the best of the video game industry, but with small budgets. So it's not always easy, but they're like tackled to do the best things ever.
Yeah, it's
I think
go ahead.
we're starting to see my rider on this weird creature stuff. It's starting to pop out. Here, I gotta put some.
So Protoss riding a Zergling.
Oh yeah, here we go. I knew you wanted me to be in Blizzard. That's what I said at the beginning.
Oh man. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, what if you were like right now? What are you doing exactly? You're just sort of playing with values to extract shapes.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? What's going in your head when you're? What are you processing right now?
Well, actually, I'm just like traveling all over the canvas, and each time I see a shape that looks cool, what I'm calling sculpting is using this very white value that's on the canvas to push my forms and get out new shapes, and I'm like excaving a creature out of this random shapes. Sometimes I will just now change the orientation of the canvas so I can more see different shapes that will come out. Sometimes I'm wondering, okay, maybe this I have to transform it in like some fur, or could I use it to be another skeleton shape thing? Is my character gonna be in profile or in 3/4 face, etc.? Well, I like when I'm working out of chaos. It's almost like my hand is working alone. Like I'm completely leaving my brain out of it. It's my eye and my brain and my hands that are tackling and trying to find different forms, etc. It will be in the more detailed phase where I'll be okay. Now, shit is getting serious. We have to understand what's happening. It can't be
Okay.
just random forms. But for now, for what we'll see in this demo, I think it will be only this kind of weird shape guy.
Yeah,
And then just trying
we're
to find.
discovering it basically at the same time as you are.
Yeah, exactly. One image I really like to give when I'm doing character design is I have, we as artists, or I have like a kind of portal that's your mind, and in this, behind this portal, there are all the creatures you're inventing and all the monsters that could exist, etc. And you have the keys to free them out of the portal.
Mm-hmm.
The keys are your art and how you're delivering it, etc. Sometimes it's you don't succeed and your art is not good enough, or it doesn't touch people enough, or it's not precise enough, or etc. And so the portal is just staying shut down, and the character will still be in your void of imagination.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you like really succeed in opening the gate, and everybody is seeing what you meant to be, or is touched by your creature, or is frightened by your monster, etc. And that's how you get like the best results. So each time I'm like working on a character, or even here where I'm starting to invent to him a story, or what is he doing, or anything that could take him out of this void of, and I want to help him. And I actually, that's something I try to keep in mind, is those characters deserve me to work well so I can deliver them. I don't know, it looks like a bit of esoteric form of thinking, but it's something I really do when I'm creating new characters. I owe them to be free, something like this.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's as though you have you kept like that child way of thinking, and I think that's where the most unhappy time I was as an artist was when I forgot about that child, and I discovered it again. I discovered it again probably like 2 years ago now, and I haven't been this happy ever since. Like, it gives purpose to everything you do.
So much. It's really the most important thing. And I freed my mind, especially now that I'm more in a position of art director, because you have to find this kind of creativity stuff. And with my daughter, because I'm discovering how she is more and more discovering stories and trying to learn how to talk and stuff. And so it brings me back to my own childhood, where it was like the best moment of your life, where you'd never think more than the next week or the next school day, and you can play, and you can play for hours with just two small characters made on plastic, or just a drawing, and you can draw for hours in front of the TV. That's what I was doing, actually. And that's a mindset that you lose when you are an adult, because you have to pay your bill, you have to live your life, you have to eat, you have to do a lot of things. And I'm not complaining that much. I have a very easy life. It's nothing compared to some other people. But
yeah, but I think yeah, like you become an adult, and you have to pay bills and this and that, but I think also there's and this is my personal opinion, I think there's something a little broken also with art education.
yeah.
Like the way it's approached, and the way students like, I don't remember any of my, except one professor who became my mentor. I don't remember anyone making me dream,
Oh yeah.
or even talking about dreams, or talking about imagination, or any of that, which is, where like your heroes, like what distinguishes them from the rest is that imagination, the fact that they can go so deep in you know their child mind or all of that, but everything was so serious, everything was so
Grounded.
disconnected from what every, you know, whatever took any friend of mine that I know who's an artist. Like, they got into art because they loved manga, they loved anime, they loved toys, they loved superheroes, or drawing cartoons or watching cartoons, any of that. That was the source of that love and passion, you know. But for some reason you get into your late teens, early 20s, and you have so much pressure, like
Yeah.
from the academia, from society, to sort of, you need to get a job, you need to do this, you need to do that, that you, at one point, you sort of have to take that child and put him in a small closet and tell him, you know, I need to be an adult now, so I need to be serious. But I don't know, I realized way later that, you know, that was the wrong way to go about it. I should have told him, like, hey, take the lead, you know, and
Yeah.
I'll follow, because I think that's what's helping me now. That's where it's like a never ending source of energy.
But
Yeah.
don't you think, like, somehow it's because you had this period where you put him
In the
in a
closet.
closet,
Yeah.
yeah, for a while, that you understood his true value, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
when you were putting him back in the front of the scene, he's like, oh yeah, so much stronger, and you learned a lot of new things, and you can adapt those things to your
Yeah.
own art, etc.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's a like everything, you know, it's a balance of both. It's basically, I guess, being the adult, but also having access to that never-ending energy from the child. So having both in sync. Any Dragon Ball Z
Yeah.
fan will understand my reference to fusion between Gotenks and Goten. But yeah,
Gogeta.
that's
Yeah, that's perfect.
that's that's yeah, it's true. It's, you know, like you said, when you miss something, even people who leave art school and didn't follow a course and then realize once they're in their professional practice, man, I should have paid attention to like grid systems or this or that, you know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to learn it again right now. But yeah, I have a couple questions here. Aaron is asking, do you have any tips on how to get the attention of indie developers or to be hired as a concept artist?
So this is gonna be a tricky question because I have to be the most honest guy. I almost never had a job where I applied to the job. It's almost every time we came to get me. So it's I can't really answer for what's the best thing to do in your portfolio, etc. Because each time I applied, I never succeeded. It's more people that came to me, etc.
Mm-hmm.
But I developed a kind of theory about this. I think they are more and less now that the whole concept art thing exploded with internet and stuff. I think there are two kinds of artists, maybe more, and it's a balance between those two kinds. But they are the more applicable concept artists that are like perfect match for one company or for art style stuff, and they are the more stylized artists where it's their art style that you come and get. And in this balance, I'm more often the guy that we come and get for what I'm creating right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so indies actually always contact me via mails, etc. I never had to go or ask something. So to reach them, I say the best thing is exposure. And so probably doing some of those character design challenges or trying to be the most creative in your own style, etc. Because independence doesn't want to find the guy who is already at Blizzard because they know they won't afford him and they want to stand out somehow. and not be like seen like the low last Naughty Dog game, or I don't know. So they want to create something that's new. They want to create something that touches them, that they like, etc. So it's very difficult to give a perfect answer to this, but I think it's the best thing is trying to get to profit of this exposure we can have with ArtStation or Facebook and all of those stuff.
Are you on top of your game, like with social media and all of that? Do you actually like put your work out there? Now you're an art director, so perhaps it's a little different, but before that, did you really make an effort to or emphasize the fact the action of putting your work out there, showing it to as many people? And if so, did you have a game plan or a strategy you sort of followed?
A pure strategy, no. I quite saw that the internet was getting bigger and growing and stuff, and that it was important to get on those all the platforms, etc. I was on the CG Hub for a while, and when CG Hub disappeared, it was like just mutating to ArtStation. So now we are all on ArtStation. I think it's like the bare minimum if you want to find something. Even now, art directors, etc., we all go on ArtStation to find things or find references or try to see new art styles, etc. So it's really the most important website you have to go. After I'm really bad in all of those social media stuff, like I think this is my second stream of all my life, so I'm even sure because there are just two, so it's not that difficult to count. I don't have to do the fake guy. Oh, I don't remember how many I made. So yeah, I'm really bad. I just use my Facebook to put my images and my links to ArtStation, and my ArtStation is basically everything I'm putting in. I think I've made just once a character design challenge because it was vampires and it was like the thing I was doing right now. So I said, yeah, why not? I'm really not the best of those guys, and like I almost never went to conventions or masterclass and stuff because I had no time or no money to go to those things, or it was just like it was the bad moments and I just couldn't. Maybe that will change now with my new position. I will try maybe to go more to GDC or things like this. But yeah,
you should definitely take advantage. Like, in Europe, it's so easy to travel around, and you guys have like pretty amazing conventions and things like that. So
yeah, it's true.
It's like in terms of cost, I don't know how costly it can get. I know in general these tickets can be a couple €100, but yeah, it's like in North America, it's really hard because the distance from one place to the next is so large.
Yeah, it's like a plane.
Yeah, and because the focus was on roads and not like railways, like you have to drive from one location to the next. Like that's at least, yeah, from between the States and Canada, like taking the bus is much faster than traveling in with certain train companies and things like that.
I see what you mean.
Let me see if there's any other question. Devrez was asking, what exercises do you do generally? Like, what are some of the exercises you sometimes do to sort of help you, push your comfort zone or just sort of develop that imagination muscle? I know the shape exercise, like starting with like very
this one is really cool.
Very specific shapes. Like that's a really solid one, and we might use that idea for a contest.
I think this one is really a very nice one. Yeah, chaos from random shapes or random brushes is very useful also because it's basically you, your eye, and your mind alone in front of nothing, and then you're like transforming nothingness and void into something real and concrete, even if it's something very esoteric or completely psychedelic. But the process of transforming something that shouldn't be in something that is it's a quite very good exercise itself. So yeah, I propose this. One exercise I do sometimes from time to time is I start a blank canvas and I take a random brush I never use, whatever it is, and I paint with it at like a very late stage before getting to the details. And it's force you to get like completely different art style, because you're no more in your usual brushes and your usual mindsets, and it's always pushing you to find something new or completely abstract out of techniques, etc. Because often comfort zone is often a technique issue, because you know that this color dodge thing will render well and give you 20 likes more on an ArtStation, so you're doing it because you're scared of doing something different, or I don't know. After I don't really like this this thing of you have to get out of your comfort zone always, etc. I'm more about if you like to do something, just do what you like the most, and sometimes explore by what you do, what you like the most to discover. For example, if you're a guy who really likes to do characters and you feel that because you have a sort of internet pressure or teacher pressure or friend pressure, you should do some environments, etc., and something different, get out of your comfort zone. Well, I would say I'll just do a character, and for the first time just do him in a small piece of environment, and the second time you'll do a bigger one, and the third time you'll do a full environment, instead of just you're always in your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone, blank canvas, and do an environment, and you're like completely blocked and you don't know what to do and you're scared, and it will get back to a character at the end and you know it. So I think it's better to take advantage of what you know, what you do the best, where you're having fun with, and you create something out of it. Well, that's how I work, actually.
Yeah, no, it's I think it's I know several artists. I can't, but for instance, even Mache, like, and Max Berman, like, these guys won't start with a blank white canvas. Even something as simple as adding, like, making the canvas a different color, or adding a gradient in the back of the canvas, or just doing sort of what you did at the beginning, like just using different brush strokes and values, and like filling up the canvas with like this, like, just pure chaos. And for them it's a lot easier to tackle the work from that stage than just having this white thing and starting to go straight into drawing or sketching.
Yeah, clearly it's something, it can be very oppressing to try to find something out of nothing. So it's sometimes easier like to trade a few of the forms against nice shapes, and then you can work out different things. I'm interested.
What are I don't know, like some of your key favorite movies, video games, or comic books or something? Because I want to see, like, is there a correlation between your aesthetic and your?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
In games, I would say, so my favorite game of all time is Vagrant Story. That was a PS1 game.
Okay, we're best buddies right now. At this point, you don't need to tell me. It's my favorite game.
So that's my number one. I put it on the top, and I was praying for thousands of years that there will be a number two.
Remake. It might not be now, but because they did the same with Shadow of Colossus.
Yeah, I hope so. I really deeply hope so. It had a good success of critique success, but not a good money and business success. So I'm very scared it will vanish someday. But I will be the last one always saying this is the best game ever.
I still have my PS1,
Yeah,
And
I
anytime I
understand.
plug it in, it's to play Vagrant Story or Chrono Cross.
I completely understand. So yeah, Dragon Story is probably number one. In the more recent games, the series that really changed me everything recently is all the Dark Souls and Bloodborne series, because it's actually when I started Dark Souls, I played the game and I was, well, if I had to do a game, it would be exactly this game, except Vagrant Story 2, but exactly this game. So it was really mind blowing, and there is such depth in those games. It's incredible, and the designs and everything about it. It's like seeing your nightmares coming to life. It's really beautiful. I really, really love the Dark Souls series. For me, it's the geniuses who created those games. In movies, they are the more common ones are like the first
Yeah.
Alien, the eighth passenger. But I often rate movies to like get a sense of which one I prefer, etc. And one of my top-rated one is Drive by Nicolas Refn.
Okay.
It's a movie with Ryan Gosling,
Yeah,
who is yeah,
I haven't like I know the poster. I see I
yeah,
can see it in my mind. Actually, I did watch it. He just doesn't speak too much in the movie. That's why I couldn't remember, but
yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly the kind of movie I really super love, because it's more my cinema courses that uh, all the best rules are broken in this movie, and it still is absolutely beautiful and plenty of emotion and stuff.
mhm.
So it's kind of some of the best movies I saw are like this. In cinema, what I really look for is emotions and good stories, mind-blowing sets, etc., more than beautiful aesthetics and things like this. So there are a lot of movies I really have problems with them, like I don't know, all the last Star Wars and stuff like this,
Yeah,
because I
it's
just don't connect to dumb people doing random choices in their movie. So I like, well, yeah, it's really beautiful. It looks like a bunch of beautiful concept arts that are on screen, but it doesn't touch me at all. Really, none at all. It will never touch me like a Forrest Gump or Shawshank Redemption, where I literally have chills each time I see those movies,
mm,
because it's like, yeah, it's made by geniuses or touching a piece of your soul. I really think movies and cinema is the one of the best form of arts, and it really can change your life. Movies I saw changed my life. Even the Star Wars and stuff, or the Lord of the Rings. It's movies that can really change you. Starship Troopers, like for
yeah.
example. And seeing those industry go with thousands of millions of dollars just to give you dumb characters, I'm like, what the fuck is happening, guys? Where are the great heroes we were all relying to? But after, it's maybe just because I'm getting old and I don't.
I think that's I think that plays a part in it because um yeah, I don't know. I think nostalgia plays a huge
Of
part
course, yeah, that's. I
in
think
what
it
we're
is
interested
one of the
in.
biggest thing. Yeah, it's you can't get back your childhood and how it touched you at one moment.
But at the same time, there's some legit, um, you just the trend of when we were young, like watching Die Hard was funny,
Yeah,
just because like every now and then seeing things blow up was sort of entertaining and this and that, and at least when you I don't know, like I didn't grow up in the States, so watching an American
yeah,
blockbuster was something you did every now and then, but it wasn't the only thing you watched. You would watch foreign movies. You would watch all like different sort of approach to cinema and storytelling, like depending on if it's in Asian movies or this and that. But now it's just like that sort of became the go-to thing, like with all the Avengers, and you have number one, two, three, four, five, like Fast and Furious, you have like six, seven of them,
It's
and
like a series.
exactly where things become a franchise, and it's more, I guess the how much money you get out of it becomes the focus, and it's interesting because now I watch most of my entertainment on Netflix
Yeah.
because I have access to so much diversity in terms of content, and I discover so many new things, which is crazy, but every week, like, there's like so many different movies that come in. I have no idea what their business model is, but it's
And
insane.
it's growing.
Yeah.
And that's it's incredible when you're seeing now big actors coming in it. You're saying, oh, okay, something has changed there
And they did
in
something
Hollywood.
right, they did something right, which is something common, let's say, in South Korea. In South Korea, any movie, any TV show that comes out um, is generally very short. So you have like these um, series that are 16 episodes, 20 episodes, but that's like beginning of story, end of story, like to the wrap up. And you get some of those on Netflix. So one thing I hate the most, and I've fallen off of shows that I really love because of that, is watching a TV show for like 10 episodes. You love the storytelling, you love the characters and everything, and then a year goes by or
Oh
six
yeah,
months go by, and then you have to get back to it. So even though I caught up with Game of Thrones, but after season 3 I was like, and I had to
again.
wait like 2 seasons and catch up at season 5. But I just don't have the patience to wait and catch up and rewind and double check where I stopped and all of that. It's I find it super super painful.
I completely understand. And what I think like Game of Thrones, I really enjoyed because I didn't read the books about it, and I was discovering everything, and it was I think it was a decent show, but once again, I you can feel that money is getting in, and so it's getting more and more impressive battles and less good talking, and even the actors, you feel they're more and more playing the role that they were assigned to. So the dwarf is doing always jokes now, and Cersei is always doing her mean eye and stuff. And yeah, it was a bit more subtle when you had no money and you were trying to prove things.
Mm.
So that's how I feel it. I saw somebody was saying if there were inspired books I read and things. I'm a huge fan of Stephen King, so I think I read almost everything about him.
You have a dark
So
mind, man.
yeah, that's coming sometimes, but sometimes beauty is in the dark. So that's where I find it.
That's something Anthony Jones would say.
Well, good reference. So yeah, Stephen King, Clive Barker are tremendous artists, and what they've done in the book industry for me has been a life change. Especially Stephen King, because I read my first Stephen King, I was maybe 10 or 12, I don't remember, but since I really read everything that was out, The Dark Tower is maybe the one that changed me the most. Seeing how he connected all his universes in one, and it was really a big epic story.
I
That
did.
was sadly not been a great movie.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, I sort of watched the movie, and yeah, it was fairly. I don't think it does the book justice, though I haven't read the book. But
I'm pretty
yeah,
sure it doesn't.
people weren't. That's one of the how'd you call it? Comments I kept reading, that people were sort of not really satisfied with how the movie sort of approached the book,
Yeah,
in the
it's
sense, how Harry Potter did it, or like the thing I'm watching now, The Expanse, like the
oh
books
yeah, I
and
started to watch this show also.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it, and I watched the first season, and one thing I do now is I'll read like between seasons or between breaks, I read the books,
Good job.
which is and you in the case of The Expanse, what I love is being able to sort of overlay the visual experience and the storytelling in the book, because you get a
Yeah,
little more content in the book, but at the same time I feel like they're doing a really good job of putting both things together. And I don't mind, because I'm reading the books, I don't mind that they're taking shortcuts, like
yeah,
in
yeah. Don't.
the TV show, just because, you know, production and whatever not. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. It's been about an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 20 minutes. So we'll wrap it up in about 10 minutes, everyone. So if you have any final questions, or you know, if you're looking for a tip or an advice from Alexandre, now's a good time to post those babies.
Time flies away when you're in good company.
Hey.
Hey. Well, maybe you find it the longest stream you ever made
No, no,
in your
no.
entire
Like
life.
you know, whenever, like, the only reason, and I'll just be honest with everyone, the only reason is at some point I'll have to go and help the family and everything. I can hear my kid like running around and speaking and whatever not, but I enjoy this. Like, for me, this is I always tell people this is such a great way to sort of replenish my batteries. You know, this is something I do to relax, like talking to people who have the same interest and all of that. It's a great way for me to stay motivated, to keep learning. You know, something as silly as earlier, like, you sort of used the lasso tool and then started working your mesh within the constraint of the lasso. Something as silly as that. I've been using Photoshop for over a decade now, but I've never done that. And that's
Yeah.
probably something I'm going to be trying, you know, next time I work and things like that. So I always learn techniques and whatever not when I watch other people work. So it's always a great opportunity.
It's your own therapy, actually.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's
Yeah, cool.
it's really been, it's a good, having access to this amazing community and all of that. Like, it really had like a big positive impact on my work and how I, even, like, you know, mental health, man.
Yeah.
Something as simple and as important as that, like, it has a big impact on my mental health. um and yeah, like, I love, you know, Devras was talking a little bit, like, when you were talking about your inspiration, he was talking about Berserk.
Oh
uh
yeah, this is one
it's,
of the best
you
of
know, like,
ever
Vagrant
manga.
Story is probably my favorite in terms of,
Yeah,
it's in my top 3 in terms of video games, and Berserk is definitely up there. Like, it completely
yeah.
took me by surprise.
It's absolutely great,
It's
gorgeous.
if people listening to the stream, if you don't know the manga Berserk, I believe Netflix has the 3 arcs, 1,
Yeah,
2, and 3. So you
yeah.
should
Golden
watch it.
Age. Yeah,
Yeah, you
they
should
are.
watch it. It's mind blowing. The story goes from one point and ends in a place you have no idea. Like, you don't understand
Yeah,
how you got there, but it's such epicness. And so that's something I would tell everyone to watch if you enjoy animes, if you enjoy that sort of stuff. Another manga I really enjoyed was Gantz.
gun. Oh man, we have the three. I think we have the same tastes.
Yeah, Gantz was amazing. So yeah,
do
there's so much content there. Go
Do
ahead.
you know Blame?
I just watched the anime again yesterday.
Well, I really, if you only know the anime, I really advise you to read the mangas because,
Yeah,
well, read is a big word because it's very contemplate stuff. But for me, it's probably the most creative guy out there. It's absolutely incredible. You don't understand a thing of what's happening, and still you're reading it again and again, and you're discovering more pieces of the story, and it's wow.
yeah, I
Yeah,
need
blame
to.
blame for me, blame Gun,
Yeah,
and
Gunmo's good.
it's they are at the top also.
Yeah. No, I definitely grew up. Anytime I went uh, to buy my mangas, like that was my weekend routine. Every weekend I would go save a bit of money during the week or do a small gig and
Yeah,
whatever, and go to my library and get my one volume, and I would try to
exactly.
stretch it as long as I could. But that was yeah, my most of, in the same way, some grow up with like Marvel comics and all of that. I grew up with mangas, like animes, and that was my entire childhood. And Blame I always saw on the shelves, but it never really, like, the cover was always in black and white, very
Yeah,
stark, with
yeah,
like the
it's very
big red typography and everything. So I never really connected with the cover. But once I watched the TV show, I was like, this is everything that I love.
oh yeah, it's super dope. You have
Yeah.
to you really have to buy those. It's incredible. I think they're going to do a new edition, master edition of it in a few months, so you can just wait and
Yeah.
you'll have them all. Can I ask you how old you are? Or
33.
okay, so I'm 31, so we're the same Dragon
Sure.
Ball Z generation.
Yeah. Club Dorothée.
Exactly, especially if you went in France, I knew it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's we have this in our skin, man. it's
Yeah, Club
it's
Dorothée, grew up with Saint Seiya.
oh god. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was my childhood. That's like mangas, animes, like
We had the
being able
same.
to draw them, being able to, like competition between the boys when I was a kid was
Yeah,
like
in school.
who can draw Goku best. And you'd always have a friend who'd
Yeah,
sort
who's the
of
best
like
one?
put tracing paper on top every single time and like trace the characters and pretend like he was that he drew it. And it was just funny. People would fight about that stuff all the time.
It was really, but it was important for us at this moment. It
Yeah,
was really important. So yeah, I completely understand. That's our it's the best moment of our lives,
yeah,
and
yeah.
still now it still works. We have a comic relief in my studio because there is not a day where we don't speak about Dragon Ball Z. But I mean, at least once. It always come out at least once in the day.
Yeah, I mean, because like it's an entire, like, Dragon Ball. Like, I feel like people were, your parents raised you, your teacher raised you, and then Goku raised you. I feel like that's how it was,
Yeah, exactly.
Like Goku
He
and his
taught you
family
real
sort
life.
of taught you the importance of like moral values, how to be generous, how not to um, be vengeful, and all these different things. I feel like, good mangas, good anime, good
Yeah,
like sort of entertainment like that, especially when you're a kid, is almost something that can educate you. So when you're talking about, these characters that you're creating for your daughter, for me it's like, I wish I had the skills to do that with my kid, because it's such a
yeah,
powerful way to transmit, ideas and values without having to be so forceful, or just relying on word and trust. You actually have a vehicle, for
mm,
for them to sort of transfer these ideas. And I know I'll do the same thing. I'll sort of, even if it's like in 10 years, 15 years, and most of the content we grew up with uh is going to be like so dated, but he's going to have to watch Dragon Ball, Senseiya, at least, I'm going to introduce that to him, introduce him to, like, what is the Matrix, what is Star Wars, what
Yeah,
is
exactly.
Vagrant Story, what is, who is Vegeta, who, like, all these different things. Like, these are things that, like,
It's
defined a lot of
important
the things
stuff.
you're seeing nowadays. And yeah, definitely. And who knows, by then I might have some of the skills to start doing these things with him. Because my
You-
dad, when I was a kid, my dad would draw things for me, and I would sort of color it. And
oh
that
my
was
god,
that was
that's
the
nice.
that was the introduction. I remember, first time, like, he wakes me up one day and he has the Sega Genesis plugged in on a tiny screen, and he turns it on. I see the logo chime, Sega, like that sound, and I see Sonic the Hedgehog with the bright colors, the flicker stars, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And from then on, it was like I was hooked. I was hooked.
You've been hooked by the hedgehog.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Good job.
it just sort of fed my imagination. Like, I was like, what is this? It was pretty awesome. All right, boys, ladies and gents, we're really enjoying this conversation, so we'll stay a tiny bit
Yep.
longer. But if you have any questions, post them now. I'll go back through the chat to see if I missed anything. But yeah, we're about to wrap this baby up.
I see. I have some of my colleagues who are in the chat, so I'll do a special hello, hello.
There you go. There you
Now
go.
they will mock me tomorrow at work.
No, man, you did killer work. Like,
And
everyone's super stoked, and people are pretty happy about the stream. Let me just see. Um, Jemmy is asking if you've ever considered drawing your own comic.
yep, there is one of my one of the projects you can see in my art stations. That's the projects that named Wild Wild Vampires. Well, it's
Okay.
a kind of big IP I'm trying to develop for I don't know when. Especially it would be for a video game, but there would be a comic
Okay.
or yeah, something like this that will come as.
I'm just going to sneak this in very quick. So these are some of the, actually, nope. These are some of the characters from Wild Wild Vampires. That's just pretty awesome.
So yeah, that would be this. And yeah, maybe how do we say the Blue Moon Night. I would like to do a fairy tale book one day with this. I don't know. I'll find some way.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much you can do with that, with those characters, like the Blue Moon, and sorry, even the story, like the narrative of this girl having to, like, prep for this epic battle with the whatever's living behind the moon. Like, there's a lot of potential there, definitely.
Yeah, well, I hope any editor is listening to this stream. Contact me, anyone.
Yeah. No, it looks pretty epic. Definitely, it looks pretty awesome. Okay, let me see. All right, we're going to wrap it up here.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks awesome. Are those like spears in his chest?
Yeah, like he's still running. I'm riding until hell, but I have spears in my chest.
This is pretty
I'll
awesome.
try to finish this in
Yeah,
the next
like,
days. I'll post
exactly,
it
and
somewhere.
post it, and we'll post it on Facebook with a link to the stream for people to catch up if they didn't have the chance to.
Great.
Yeah, but this was
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
yeah, I we haven't streamed in a while, just because everyone was super busy, like Mache, myself, and
Yeah.
so I feel like this is probably the best comeback we could have
Cool.
asked for.
Great.
So yeah, it was pretty epic. So yeah, we're going to wrap it up here, everyone. Deborah's just posted Alexandre's portfolio link on ArtStation in the chat, so definitely go
Thanks.
ahead, check it out, give him a follow. That's always appreciated. And do you have any other platforms you use besides ArtStation?
I have my DeviantArt and my Facebook, but mainly everything is on ArtStation. So
Okay, so that's the best way to
yeah,
reach
just
out.
go on this one. Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, if any of you guys want to try some of these techniques, like go from like the chaos, and try to extract information out of that, like definitely do it, post it online, tag Learn Squared, tag Alex, and like I said, we'll think about what we can do with that, and hopefully it'll be something you guys enjoy. So that's it. It's a wrap. We'll see you next weekend. I'll post a link to what the next stream is going to, who we're going to have on the next stream, and quick reminder: Sunday, May 2nd, 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. Tim Zarki and Mache are going to be live on Twitch to launch the Industrial Design course, Industrial Design Foundation. I'm going through it right now. It's an amazing course. The amount of content in there is extremely solid. So I'll just post a link here to the. Let me just do that quick. Facebook. Yeah, Tim, if you guys don't know him, is an extremely talented guy. He's been part of the community for a little while, and that's sort of where I met him. And he's been helping everyone pretty much understand like what 3D is all about, visualization, product design, and everything. And luckily we got to work on a course with him, so the result of it is fabulous. It's pretty amazing. Like I said, I'm going through it. I'm wrapping up lesson 2 at this point, and I think you guys are going to really, really love it. So I just posted the link. Make sure you sign up so that you don't miss it. And again, if you have any questions, if you need anything, feel free to reach out on Facebook, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. All right.
Cool. Thank you very much.
All right. You guys have a good end of your weekend, and we'll catch you next weekend. Take care. Bye.
See ya.